As far as any story goes, villains serve a major role, and I think everyone can agree on that point. However, they can accomplish their role via serving many different purposes. Some are there purely to hype themselves, so that they themselves can be looked at as the great threat that the hero must overcome, so that they can place fear in the heart of every character and in the heart of every viewer. How can anyone ever defeat him? Like Pain from Naruto did a pretty decent job at that. Although it was a filler arc, and although it was a rather crap filler arc, Naruto became friends with the Six Tails Jinchuriki, and after an entire arc of friendship where they were approximately equally powerful, Pain defeats Mr. Six Tails without even breathing hard. They continue to hype him further by beating Jiraiya, with only using less than half of his strength for most of their battle, to continue on destroying the entire Leaf Village and killing many ninja we care about, and then Naruto shows up. That's a villain that hyped itself. Some villains have the purpose to hype others by only being an underling, by being a small part of the plan, by being an introductory villain into an arc. For example, Neferpito from Hunter x Hunter 2011 is a wonderful example, because after years of searching, after following trails and clues, Gon finally finds Kite, finally befriends Kite that cares about him in a sense, playing sort of a godfather role that he's been missing his entire life. From Kite feeling Pito's end, to Pito slicing off Kite's arm without him having the chance for reaction, and with Kite telling Gon and Killua to run, because he knows he has no chance against this character, and this is just one of the royal guard. The difference between a soldier Chimera Ant and a captain Chimera Ant was huge. The difference between a captain and a royal guard was infinitely larger, and you can only imagine how much larger the gap will be between a royal guard and the king himself, and that's how it was. And there are some villains that don't serve to hype any individual specifically, be it themselves or others. Some are just there to hype the entire universe, and even that has many categories. They can make it seem like the entire world is out against the hero, like the vibe many of the Soul Reapers gave off in Bleach's Soul Society arc, that there's a world of infinite unknown and unknown terrors that can continue growing and blossoming into something terrible, like the Armor Titan or the Colossal Titan or even the Beast Titan in Attack on Titan did, hyping the world's fear and the unknown of the universe. Or, in this case of One Piece, Big Mom is here to teach us that this universe is vast and deep, and everyone has their own game plan. No matter what the protagonist has in his mind, someone else may be thinking something as well. And when these two thought processes collide, maybe in the end only one can survive. So I would like to break this down for you. This is why I think Big Mom's role in One Piece is more than just a villain on her own right, but a villain in increasing the depth to every character and every side in the universe of One Piece. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to an episode of Villain
Crimson Lightning!
Despite Big Mom being a tremendous villain in power and influence on her own right
And size.
that's not even the most important aspect of what she's given the One Piece story. So I figured maybe I'd be able to show her off in a slightly different light that maybe not all of you understood. So I figured she'd be perfect for this episode of Villain Breakdown, because honestly this is a new series I just started and she's the first major villain I'm doing. There's a lot more in Charlotte Linlin than everyone's pick for the first to go bye-bye of the Four Emperors. So let's get down to business. I normally would go as far as a villain's breakdown in chronological order. You know, I'd start with their flashbacks, revealing how they get to where they get to, until eventually revealing their full awesomeness. But as I've mentioned, her awesomeness as a villain truthfully doesn't lie in her character or her abilities nearly as much as her effect on the narrative of the story. Please allow me to explain. The first half of the One Piece story, before the whole New World business, while the Straw Hats were procuring a name and a crew, their major foes were the Shichibukai, the Seven Warlords of the Sea. Powerful pirates that were recognized by the government enough for the government not to bother them, basically so Luffy could be the one to bother them instead. Because if the government would be against them, then quite frankly, the admirals would school Luffy like it was nobody's business. These Shichibukai were powerful pirates with a small amount of authority that each had their own individual mindset and reasons to why they were doing what they were doing. Despite only fighting them one at a time, Luffy was able to defeat most of them as he traveled through, and yes, they posed a great threat, but a threat as an individual, not a threat as a nation. Anyway, at the end of that whole section of One Piece, during the Marineford War, we learned the terrifying difference between a warlord and a Yonko, an emperor. How the Marines, with all their might and glory, plus all the Shichibukai that they had working for them, all together were approximately evenly matched against Whitebeard, a pirate who was a Yonko. Just to show you how much weight this title bears before we can enter the New World. Explaining why that war was awesome, that's for another video entirely. Doing another villain breakdown on Whitebeard, even though honestly I don't know how much of a villain he was, but whatever, I could do it, would would be my dream, and I would love to do one of those in the future, as well as on Doflamingo and Crocodile and all my other favorite villains from One Piece. However, I'd like to focus on how the final story of the pre-New World One Piece was basically saying, look at how freaking beast a Yonko is. Now let's skip 2 years and hype the crap out of these bastards. After the 2 years of training, Luffy and his group finally meet up. They go to Fishman Island. They do their heroic protagonist stuff there, only to realize that all that they've saved was a small Civil War type conflict among the fishmen. But they are in Big Mom's territory. This is where we realize territory is a thing. Yonkos claim massive amount of territory just for the sake of not bothering them or having their name on your side so no one can bother you. At the end of the arc, when they have all their treasure and everything's going well, P-comes to collect tax. And honestly, I must say, one of my 3 favorite scenes from the entire Fishman arc was P-come saying to Caribou,
Welcome to the new world. No Logia fruit's gonna help you here.
then revealing his bounty of over 300 million. Frightening numbers for a lowly foot soldier of Big Mom's empire. Of course, the taxes that they were supposed to pay here are unavailable, unfortunately, so Luffy picks a fight with Big Mom. This is the first point of contention between the protagonist and an emperor. This is an entirely new level of opponent that we honestly can't even understand yet. Now that we've been introduced to the Yonko Big Mom, I would like to say this is point 1 and how Big Mom affects the universe. The story seems to go off tangent, leaving Big Mom kind of in the background of everyone's minds, which was brilliant, by the way, as our lovely Straw Hats move on to Punk Hazard. So I'm going to go through this quickly because it bears little yet important relevance to Big Mom, so I will skip the parts that honestly don't matter that much. The Straw Hats make a really nifty alliance with Law. Law becoming one of the fan base's favorite characters, honestly, for good reason. The guy's a badass. For him to reveal his goals in defeating Doflamingo and eventually moving on to defeating Kaido. This was the first time the thought has crossed the mind of any character in the show and the viewers that, whoa, we're gonna fight the emperors. This is where the second part of One Piece unfolds, with Law revealing his plan is to capture Caesar in order to destroy Doflamingo via using Kaito, one of the 4 emperors, and then eventually destroying Kaido himself. This is the first time any direct action against a emperor was taken, and this is where the world begins to change, where the balance of power is gonna completely crumble. Anyway, with many hitches in everybody's plans, yet with the overall direction kinda going the right way, they eventually get past Dressrosa, leaving Doflamingo in the dumps, and moving on to the final goal of defeating Kaido. Ready for battle, with many hardships behind them getting them to this point. The Straw Hats and the Law Pirate guys assemble, except Sanji's not there. This is point 2 as far as the brilliance of Big Mom as a villain. Big Mom has a plan of her own, which kinda involved capturing Sanji for whatever reason. But that was not according to the plan of the protagonists. They have to split up. One half must go rescue Sanji, and thereby defy the will of Big Mom for the second time. And the second half of the group is gonna have to go help out the Wano Kingdom because of Kaido. Meaning, the plan couldn't have gone better. I mean, I guess it could have. They could have avoided some fighting if Doflamingo wouldn't have been such a putz. But in all honesty, this is one of the first times in anime that I could remember a brilliant plan get completely shattered, but not by the target of that strategy. It's a totally new side with their own totally new ideas and plans getting involved solely for themselves, and yeah, if their plans don't align with the little Straw Hat crew, the Big Mom Empire won't give 2 craps, and Big Mom honestly would not care whose plans she foils as she goes about her own business. So with Luffy and his group heading off to save Sanji, I would like to mention that this is point 3 of Big Mom's universal awesomeness. After all this, and after all the power and influence she has and that she's shown, she is not revealed as an incredible villain. She isn't. What did she do to the universe with all the actions that she did or didn't do? Well, frankly, she showed you just how 3-dimensional this world is. How in a 3-dimensional universe, no matter how good your planning and no matter how good your strategies, a completely unpredictable, unprecedented outside force can intervene and will if it wants to. No matter how good someone's planning is towards any individual, the planning can't be good to the extent that it would stop a tornado from starting, or a tsunami from happening, or the rain from falling. They're unavoidable mishaps. They're things that no matter how many mind games you play on your opponent, they'll happen regardless. That's the feeling Big Mom gives off. It wasn't a flaw in their planning that it got disrupted by this Snorlax of a Yonko, but it does solidify in everyone's mind that the will of a Yonko is absolute, that it's on the level of a natural disaster, that it's unforeseeable, and that their will can be looked at as a divine will, with no opposition. How with little effort they can contort fate as many times as they'd want to do so. It's more than just a wrench thrown in their plans. It reveals exactly what a Yonko is in the new world. A Yonko is a being whose will is on par with the force of nature, that if you want to battle them, you'll have to bring your A game and lots more. That everyone has their own plans and mindsets, and that just because this bad guy is the main arc villain, it doesn't mean every other character does not exist. It's something scary to keep in mind, because as far as even the greatest of animes go, that is really not the case. I mean, Naruto, it was pretty much the story of good guy versus bad guy for most of it, especially Shippuden. Bleach, every arc had the arc bad guy, and the arc bad guy's underlings, and nothing else in the world existed. Even in Hunter x Hunter, a show with the most brilliant of character developments, be it on the good guy's side or the villains. Oh my god, I have to do one of these videos about Meruem. Oh my god! But in middle of the Chimera Ant arc, somehow Hisoka wasn't even around, and the Phantom Troop were doing their own thing. Yes, it involved a branch of the Chimera Ant arc, but didn't affect the good guys in any way, shape, or form. Every arc in almost every shonen likes to be wrapped up in its own tight little bow. This is the story that's happening right now. This is what the heroes must overcome. It's gonna be very hard, but this is what they're gonna have to do. One Piece flipped the table on that, because while in our little cute Dressrosa arc, or Zoe Island arc, Big Mom's cute little tea party revealed that truly everything since the 2-year time gap was part of one mega world. More than just a little piece of storyline, but an entire history of nations. I think she successfully placed in everyone's mind that this story is no longer follow the hero's proactive journey saving the day from island to island. But if they really want to come out on top, they're gonna have to survive this crazy new world. And it's not gonna be so easy. I mean, maybe we can rely on Luffy's political skills, but I think if he'd talk to any of Linlin's subordinates, it would go something like,
Hey, crunchy butt muffin whiskers. Yo mama's so fat!
or something along those lines. I mean, Luffy's a great guy and everything, but as far as politics, I was about to say leave it to the second in command, but I have a feeling that may be even worse. Not to mention all the surprising alliances that she inadvertently caused, putting another spin on the universe, showing you that anyone can ally up with anyone, as long as their ideals crash, even if up till now they hated each other's guts. Another depth to the world that she caused that honestly I would love to talk about more, but I can't because it's manga spoiler territory, and apparently that's a bad thing to do. Not that I know anyone who's actually up to date watching One Piece that hasn't read the manga, but if there are two of you, I really do not want to spoil this. So I think this is a safe place to stop. As far as her backstory and individual powers is enough to make Big Mom a wonderful villain in my books, but I truly believe that all that just makes her fit into Oda's world better, whereas her true purpose was to get everyone in the fan base to be able to sink their teeth into the world of One Piece once again, and look at it in an entirely new light, as a fictional universe more than a fictional story. One Piece has evolved into more than just a story at this point, and Big Mom is telling everyone it's time to realize that. Ladies and gentlemen, I bid you a most wonderful evening. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Villain Breakdown. Let me know if you want more of these and on who you'd want these. Like everything, practice makes less cringy. So, being that this is pretty much my first breakdown on a full real villain as opposed to like, you know, oh, that villain appeared for like 2 minutes in that anime, let's talk about his awesomeness, just because I'm too lazy to make a longer video. Well, that ends here. So, enter this new world with me, because I enjoy making these analysis videos. So please like and subscribe. And of course, I'll see you all next time.